conclude la serata di oggi il mio carissimo amico Zoran JUKANOVICH, professore di architettura della facoltà di architettura di Belgrado, caro amico, che sta sviluppando, diciamo, da moltissimi anni, diversi anni, una ricerca con i suoi studenti, insomma, sull'architettura pubblica, sugli spazi pubblici e varie altre cose. Si è occupato molto di città fragili, diciamo, si è occupato molto di sostenibilità. E a te, caro Zora, grazie di essere venuto da Belgrado fino a qua. Grazie e ti cedo la parola.
At first, thank you very much, caro amico mio, that make me part of such a team of excellence. It's always really good to be part of this community of desirous who is dreaming about a better world and using design as a tool to improve it. The topic that you gave me, this topic, it was not my choice. That topic was a tricky and nasty task that my good friend gave to me, and I tried to survive it. But now you should survive it as well. Such as I am the last speaker of today. Today was a really exciting day, and I suppose that all of you are very tired. I'm not. Don't expect that I will speak short, but I will try to speak quiet and boring, that you can sleep. Why? Because the secret topic, the topic that Giuseppe gave me is città socialmente sostenibili, socially sustainable city, but subtopic of this is the dream of an egg, il sogno dell'uovo, sì. Let's say at first, if we are speaking about sustainability, yesterday we discussed a lot together about it, and I personally believe that every live city, livable and lovable, it is necessary to be lovable, not only livable. We are always speaking about livable city, but this is fairy tale. It doesn't exist. City has to be lovable to be successful. That's why I believe that every living city is have a, let's say, successful social sustainability inside of it. But of course, there is a city which collapsed. This is a city where this sustainability of social sustainability inside of the city is collapsing for some reason. There is different kind of reason that can jeopardize sustainability, social sustainability of the city. Why I think like this? Because Dostoevsky said, Fyodor Dostoevsky, famous writer, used to say that a man is the animal which adapt the best. The best of the other species is adapting, has ability to adapt for shocks, different kind of impacts from all around and so on. I don't know if it is true, but it's fair to believe Dostoevsky. This is one of things. The second impact of my lecture is that my lecture is not speaking actually about social sustainability. That was the topic of Marco before of me. But my research has been a little bit more about the city with sustainable community, sustainable society, or the city as the product of sustainable society, or where we are today. What we want to be. Today, this is not question of, the planning of the city, urban planning. It's a relatively easy job. We have to estimate where we want to be, where we are now, and we have to find a way how to reach this new position that we are dreaming for, the dream of an egg. But today we have a little bit complicated problem, because at first we have to we have to think who we want to be, what kind of society we want to be. This is, I believe, the most important question. Why? Because it seems that we are on the threshold of a radical shift in our understanding of our contemporary life in, let's say, environment when we are living. Why the dream of an egg? I press, but nothing happened. Два puta.
The green.
Oops. Okay, it could be like this. Now everything is clear. This is a very famous drawing illustration of Cedric Price from 1982, related to understanding development of the city. In the classical point of view, the ancient town has been like a boiled egg, was small, with limited area, with strong shell around, fortification around it to be protected. Second one is what happened after Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution actually expanded the city so much that this shell of the egg has been crushed and city swallowed all around. And the modern city is something which more or less looks like a scrambled egg, which is, I think, one of the best illustration, even though there is some problems, but I didn't find something so interesting and so tricky and so funny, because if there is no fun, there is no sense. We came from field of design, it has to be like that. Why this is like that? Because our estimation of our position in the world has been changed. The city is the human product, we will see after that. But what is the material from which we built our city? The stones, the wood, ceramic tiles? No. We are material from which we are building our city. Our meat, flesh and bones, we have to put in that walls, and after that our city will be livable and lovable. It's very easy. Who said? Actually, that said Italo Calvino in his excellent book, Città Invisibili. He said that cities like dreams, the dream of an egg, the cities as a dreams, has been made by our fears and dreams and hopes. Our fears and hopes. We always have it opposition of something that we want, that we desire, and something that we are afraid of. Our behavior is related to those two main impacts, but also the results of our behavior in our activities is related to it. City is one of the product of our behavior, of our activities in the environment we have. Louis Sullivan used to say that form ever follow the function. You know it, form follow function. But actually, Louis Sullivan said form ever follow function. If it is like that, what kind of form and function we can find in those X, which is representing different kind of community, not only different kind of cities. Those three X represent three different kind of hopes, fears, three different kind of societies, three different kind of understanding of the universe, of the environment, and three different kind of understanding of love and society, which bring us together, which glue us together. Of course, Louis Sullivan was not the first. The oldest text which speaking about that is actually very famous, as you know, text of Vitruvius. The structure must exhibit firmitas, utilitas, and benistas. beauty, useful and solid. Beautiful, we spoke a little bit before about the beauty as one of the main, let's say, exponent of whatever we do, especially designers. It has to be also beautiful. But beauty has also different kind of meanings in different culture through history, but also in contemporary way. What is the function of the city? To live there? Probably yes. But I believe this is something that I put in Italian because it's more compatible to Serbian original, that Professor Ranko Radović, who was professor of mine and one of the best thinkers about architecture from this part of the world. Le città servono per proteggerci dallo scorrere del tempo e dal maltempo. There is two main things: to not disappear and to be protected from the bad weather, from the rains, snows, floods. We are building the architecture because of that. If we build architecture only because to protect us from the sun, snow, and the rain, we would never have such a marvelous architecture such as we have. That's why our architecture express actually whatever we believe. The architecture in the cities is the best machine for memories. We are putting ourselves, our memories, our beliefs inside of it. The other guy, a French one this time, Henri Lefebvre, is speaking about the city as a projection of the society on the ground. If it is true, those three cities are footprints of society who built it. This is actually footprints, fingerprints, whatever, of the society. Is it? We can always reflect what kind of society is building some city. Even archaeologists can do it when they find the dead city, never know for them. They can recognize, and we can recognize, what kind of activity was inside of it. This is the fingerprint of the society, those three acts. The other guy, that one, again, that means the city is a social product, human product, we already said. And finally, before we start about some other information, this is a quote of Rudolf Schwarz. Man cannot plan his own world without projecting himself in it. We can't do anything out of us. For example, again, the same guy, Italo Calvino, and again the same book, Città Invisibili, when he's speaking to Kublai Khan about the cities, he said, whenever I'm speaking about the city, I'm speaking about Venice. For Marco Polo, every city is Venice. Why? Because he's Venetian. And he can't understand. He has to have a relation of understanding. He can compare only with Venice, this city, even that he traveled all around. But his roots, his origins are in Venice. That's why he always speaking, every city, when I'm speaking about any city, I'm always speaking about a city, one city, a Venice. This is, man cannot plan his own world without projecting himself into it. Okay. If the city looks like an egg, what does its society looks like? How we can read something from the egg? Let's try to pick up something. At first, today we can't speak anymore about any particular city. Actually, we can speak about Pordenone, Belgrado, Ljubljana, Roma, Florence, New York, Peking, Beijing, whatever. But today, if we're speaking about a city, we have to speak about the global city. Why? Because the market in Wuhan caused global pandemic. Why? Because collapse of the New York stock market has been jeopardized all planet. Why? Because political crisis in Middle East, North Africa, Central and Latin America, Ukraine, has caused a global migration, which came everywhere. Why? Because my small car, which is staying in the front of Hotel Stantin, an emission of CO2 he made is jeopardize all planet. If we are not aware about our own role in this global show, we will do nothing. That's why I start with my car and I finish with a small activity of mine, which is maybe not to save the planet, but maybe will save a cat, un gatto. Of course, today, we are facing with the really rapid growth of the global city. And today, this is global city, how it looks like, correlating with the Cedric Price joke about the city as an egg. What does it mean? What does it mean? Now we are starting with some very heavy statistical data, and I will read more than I will speak. Even that migration in the town is pretty new, let's say, phenomenon. Only 200 years, actually. Before 200 years, cities was developed in the normal size, of course, not counting Roma from Roman time, not counting Beijing from the other time, but it was particular cities. But in normal cities, was growing a little bit, going down a little bit, And it was not big migration to the city. It was not the pressure to the city to accept the citizens. This is very new, actually, thing, only 200 years. But what happened in only 200 years? Just in 200 years, the world population has been grown from 900 million to nearly 8,000 million people. By the year from 2100, we are thinking that it will be about 10,000 million. This is a growth. This is explosion. This is not growing, this is explosion. US task force, you can ask them. The global rise of the city has been, of course, unexpected, but in 1800, it was about 2% of world population lives in the city. Today is more than 55%. This is migration to the city. Of course, this increasing of the number of the citizens in the city are not only migration, also the borning, but we will speak a little bit after about it. That numbers are showing that every week 1.5 million people join the urban population. 1.5 million. This is one Belgrade. This is size of Belgrade. Every day, one new Belgrade appeared in the planet Earth. Every single day, almost 109,000 new city dwellers came in the city, which means 2 per second. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Every second, 2 new citizens came. Let's speak, because we're speaking about, I'm architect, I'm urbanist, we're always speaking about the spatial matter of it, not only, about people, but we are also speaking about how people are using the space. From the spatial point of view, only 1% of planet surface is covered by built spaces, but built spaces means everything defined as cities, towns, villages, human infrastructure, everything. The cities, only cities, covering 0.5% of the surface of the planet Earth. But where is the problem? 2%. But we have no problem. The planet is 88% free, not built. But this is not true, because those 2% are basically spending more than 75% of resources. But this is data from 2015. Today is more than 80%. 80% are collapsed because of 2% of the planet. Maybe this is not fair. Maybe this is fair because we are humans who care about the others. Even that we are only 1%. But it's very, I like this comparison with humanity and bees. There is, if we extract all the bees from the planet Earth, life will disappear in 10 years. If we extract all people from the planet, life will flourish. We are poisoning our planet. That means we are poison, even 1 small %. Why? Because the poison is in the little bottle. We are carrying. That grow has a price. That grow has a price. Let's see what kind of price. I choose some of extraction, not all, because it will take all the day. I will have only afternoon until the midnight. More than 80% of global GDP is coming from the city, is generating in the city, if we're speaking about the price. But why we are speaking about GDP at all? Why GDP is important at all? Today, we find out that there is many reasons for that, because we are mostly speaking about economical sustainability. We speak very few about environmental, and even the less about social sustainability. This is 3 pillars of sustainability. We mostly spoke about, it was one of the slides, but I think that author is not here anymore, and I can say, it was one slide which said, digitalization is antidote. For what? For what? For economic crisis or for economic decreasing? Probably. But let's speak about GDP is one of the main characteristics of growth, of how we are living good. We believe that in the countries with the high GDP, people live better. In the countries with a low GDP, people don't live so good, but not live bad, but not live so bad, so good. But why GDP is the only? Maybe just because we have a growth, we will see a little bit after because of that. Look this, global use of materials is accelerating. Is more than tripled since 1970. Moreover, the global economy is only 9% circular. Only 9% circular. We're speaking about recycling, about circular economy, so and so on. It's a 9%. Okay, we can step, this is the first steps. In the future, will be better. Maybe for 200 years, it will be 10%. Look this, within the lifetime on one single generation, only single generation, which means 30 years, the world population, global CO2 emission, resource and energy consumption increased in that way. Population 4 times. CO2 emission 7 times. Resource consumption 8 times. Energy consumption 10 times. Look, guys, we are living good. We have no problem. We can afford this rise. We live good. And one of the chart that we saw today, increasing of number of people who is living in good condition and the decreasing of the number of people who is living in slums, showing it that we are living better and better and better. But what about the price? It costs more and more and more. One of my friends from Italy a few days ago told me that his personal costs by basic cost for living increased 2 times from the last year. I believe that you have the same experience. It costs. And there is another special, but really just a special matter. When you once built the city, you put some rules in this way of building of the city, and these rules are changing very slowly or never change. This is something which is really resistant to change, even that you are, because it's really related to behavior of people. People like status quo, in the cities. I heard today that Pordenone is the city with community which is open for changes. It's really beautiful. I would like to live in such a city, because every city where I live, people usually like status quo, but obviously in Pordenone is not. That's why Pordenone is successful. What does it mean? Look this. The expansion of urban land consumption outpaces population grow as much as 50%, which is extended 1.2 billion square meter new urban built area, which is actually fourth time Italian territory. We need to inquire, to find somewhere and to build for Italian territory, in next several years. Such a sprawl, such a sprawl of the city, is very jeopardizing, resources, and sometimes is going in the way that this is undesirable outcomes we have, not always, but sometimes, especially from the point of view of material outcomes and incomes as well. And the cities consume 2/3 of the global energy consumption and account for more than 70% of greenhouse gas emission. Two of three energy consumption and 70% production of greenhouse emission. Cities, our cities. This is also price. Something about the biodiversity. It was something about biodiversity. We saw the deers in the cities, of course, because deers, there are no forest anymore. One of my friends from Canada showed me several days ago a video from the terrace of his weekend house with the family of bear. Family of bear host them there, and they're enjoying on the terrace, on the sunny place, they're doing there. Why not? This is good from the point of view of ecological matter, but this is not normal. We are afraid of bears, and bears are afraid of us. We never share the territory where we live. It's a sort of extraction. Grazie. And biodiversity is jeopardized dramatically, but really, really dramatically. And we research biodiversity very, very fast. Look this. Globally, from the point of view of food, estimate that 75% crop diversity was lost. 75% was lost in the 20th century. Historically, about 7,000 plant species we use for feeding humankind, for feeding us. Today, only 18 plants are feeding us. 7,080 species. But this is not the worst. The worst is, in fact, 50% of all plant-based calories came from only 3 species. Rice, maize, and wheat. Only 3. And 93% of global meat supplies come from only 4 animals. Pigs, poultry, cattle, and buffalo. But the problem is that production of meat and dairy products already takes up more than 70% of global agricultural land. We can't expand it unlimitedly because the planet is limited, because space of the planet is limited. We can only go to Mars, as Elon Musk proposed, but we need several centuries or 1,000 years to convert in a living space. Although this, let's say, meat consumption is cover only 18% of calories we need for daily life. And something really bizarre, fashion industry. I really like it. I'm very fashionable, as you can see, and it's really, really bizarre. Look at this. Fashion industry is the world's third largest manufacturing sector after automobile and technology industry. Okay, so what? But look this. The fashion industry is responsible for 10% of annual global carbon emission, more than all international flights and maritime shipping combined together. Next time, when you are thinking, if you will buy more expensive ticket for your flight, but which will produce less CO2, better to think about new t-shirt, because this is really big problem, and it will increasing for 50%, as you can see, until the 2030. And look this, 20% of wastewater worldwide comes from fabric and dyeing treatment in the fashion industry. And look this, of the total of fiber input for the clothing, only 87% is burned, actually, and deposit in the field, which means only 13% we are using on us. We are producing 87% and waste it immediately before we put it inside. That's why every year 500,000 tons of plastic microfabrics are dumped into the ocean. This is equivalent of 50 billion of plastic bottles. 50 billion of plastic bottles. Microfabric cannot be extracted from the water. This is the main problem. It stays forever there, and you know that it has to be disappear by itself, which is very long process when plastic is. Almost 500 million of urban resilience. We heard that there is living in that this is decreasing, but almost 500 million urban resilience live in coastal areas. Increasingly and vulnerable areas from the different kind of point of view, the increasing of the water level and so on. In the 136 biggest coastal city are about 100 million people, or 20% of their population, or $4.7 trillion assets exposed, $1 trillion assets exposed to coastal flood. Or around 90% of urban expansion is developing in the countries near hazard, which is in the hazard-prone zone. To do, we have to expand. The most recent global estimates suggest that 1 in 3, even that it's decreasing, 1 of 3 people in urban areas lives in slums. You know what does it mean, slums? Slums means that this is living condition which is not appropriate from humans. This is one of the tasks, reducing of slum is one of the tasks of United Nations. The share of the urban population living slum by region looks like this. Most of the countries across Asia, Latin America, and so on, is about 10 until 30% of urban population living in slum, which is shame. In sub-Saharan Africa, more than 50% lives in the same condition. In such countries such as Sudan, South Sudan, Central African Republic, more than 90% of people lives in such a condition, which is really, really tragic. I can quote a lot of such examples. You know it also very much, but I just put some bizarre and some which can show us what does it mean, the price of this growth. Sustainability of scramble and the leg. This is the problem, you know, speaking about that. Of course, if we are speaking about our impacts, we are speaking about, at first, this is one of the most popular buzzword, we're speaking about climate crisis, but this is not climate crisis. You know, this is actually a social crisis. This is how this topic is connected by social sustainability. This is social crisis. The question about sustainability of urban communities are old as the city is, from Plato to Marx and so on, and we can speak about several possibilities, utopian architects and utopian doctors and so on. Something we can jump over, but just to see, because I have to be a little bit more. What is very important, the development of the triple bottom line, economy, environmental, economical, and societal, has been seen as an opportunity for solving the problem. But this is not like this, because even that we fight a lot with this three pillar, we didn't gain some results if we're speaking about social sustainability, whatever. Moreover, overwhelmingly, the social sustainability literature has not been concerned with a more normative politics. If you have normative politics, you can do anything with that. This is just proclamation of desires, but you can implement it, because there is norms that you can measure how much it is successful or how much is not successful. This is main problem. For example, the concept of the urban social sustainability conceived the city as a backdrop for lasting and meaningful social relation and so on. But the socially sustainable city market, by vitality, solidarity, a common sense of place among the residents and so on, everything that you can norm. No. And also, such a diversity of understanding what actually social sustainability means, showing that there is no concept actually, that concept is in the struggle. Because you have not the same politics in the same city. Different cities are using different politics. Which means, I also deeply believe that rather than ask what society we want to sustain, actually who we want to be, most have explored question is how to sustain our society of today, the contemporary society. This is not for discussion. We have to do something more. Also, holistic approach is really necessary when we are speaking about it. But discussion of social sustainability, particularly within urban literature, have been largely divorced with the environmental debate. There is and there is fight against it. Sociologists don't want to speak about environmental impact of social behaviors on the planet. There is social tools. In the social science, there is social tools for understanding it. Environmental science is different, but we need really something which is more wider, holistic process. I will jump over it, yes, probably the most interesting and most comprehensive approach to sustainability at all is sustainability, which is related to the, let's say, development goals of Agenda 2030 of UN. And but we have problem also with it. I will list it here. But what is the problem? The goals for sustainable development are set, but we don't know with what kind of condition they will be realized, because our society is progressively changing. Although much time has passed since we achieved the 17 goals for sustainable development in Agenda 2030, just few people know for them. And the worst of all, there is that the behavior of consumption of the industrial country are subject of criticism, and even worse, without UN said, without better performance by the countries in G20, which are responsible for 75% of the global CO2 emission, the agenda will fall. Everything showing actually that agenda seems to be stillborn. We invest a lot of effort in it, but it obviously doesn't work. Scrambling is scrambling. Maintaining the conventional growth means the risk of destroying global ecosystem. But if we give up from the current concept of growing, we are in risk of economic and social collapse. But we need a world when no longer GDP will be the only criteria of measuring the quality of life. And this is, I think, I believe that this is one of the most important. Technology can't solve our problems because the problem is in current way of development, of growth. We have to change approach to that. Today we heard several of approaches. We as architects can't do much in that field, but can support good idea in the future very much. And finally, this is something which explain, we can't count on the unlimited growth on the limited planet. We have to change, we have to make a radical shift to find another way of living and sharing such resources that we have today. We have to tell people that we have to find another way to do it. As Stephen Hawking say, we are very, very small, but we are profoundly capable for very, very big things. I believe that we should profoundly think about what kind of society we want to be and profoundly think about changing our perspectives, hopes, and behaviors, which means our dreams, to find another way to do it. Because, I deeply believe that sometimes less is more. Even the less, the scrambled, boiling, and fried is not something that this is very new in our lives, especially in Balkans. And only one thing at the end, to not finish with the scrambling, but to finish with something which is, I think, and I believe, more familiar, what I can do as I own. This morning I find this paper on the door of Hotel Santin. But it's beautiful. Why? Because it's correlated with every single topic that we had today. As Adolf Loss said, the natural desire, Adolf Loss said it. Look, the natural desire to save a cat is what it means to be a citizen. Every single of those topics that we heard today has a relation with that, even digital. Look, il microchip. The cat, il gatto, have a microchip. We have all those topics about which we are speaking today. There is inside of the text of this gatto. Even very sustainable, because as you can see, this gatto is vegetarian. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Animal in Italy, for by law, they must have microchips. The law imposed to the landlord, to have every animal, domestic animal, they have the microchips.
Of course.
The law. There's fantastic things.
This is society.
Fantastic.
Society.
I had several. But I would like to conclude. Thank you, Zoran.